Welcome to Barn Banter, the podcast by Horse Illustrated. Each month, we bring guests to educate, entertain, or inspire you as you pursue the horsey lifestyle, plus an adoptable horse with a unique story. I'm Susan Friedland, an equestrian author, blogger, and speaker with a soft spot for off-track thoroughbreds. You can find me at my blog, saddleseekshorse.com, or on Facebook or Instagram at saddleseekshorse.
And I'm Holly Kakamis, editor-in-chief of Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazines. You can find us at horseillustrated.com, youngrider.com, and Horse Illustrated and Young Rider on Instagram and Facebook.
Welcome to Barn Banter by Horse Illustrated. In this episode, we are going to discover the secret of why Holly, my co-host, refers to herself as the anti-Martha Stewart. So, Holly, the holidays are around the corner, and I just learned something about you. You referred to yourself as the anti-Martha Stewart, and you refuse to buy chairs to replace chairs that were broken. You only have 2 chairs for people to sit on around your table. What is the deal?
Well, listen, I mean, you just got to be proud at this age. Like, I'm in my 40s. You are what you are. You just got to accept yourself and like your shortcomings. And for me, the thought of cooking a meal for like 8 people, because we have my parents, my in-laws, me and my husband, my son, like my mom wanted me to host. We just moved into a bigger house. She's like, you have to host. And I'm like, but then I would have to buy chairs. Like the chairs would get used for 1 hour and never, ever, ever used again. And I'm not buying the chairs. I'm not doing it. Like she has the table, the chairs, the china. Oh, she wanted me to buy china when I got married. And I'm like, I would rather jump off the Queen Mary than buy china because it is just going to like take up space. I have a small place. I will never use it. Never, ever, ever. I've gotten handed down all this silverware from like the generations, like taking out a polishing cloth for a fork. Never going to happen. I've got my beautiful IKEA flatware. It's just fine. It works great. It's not fancy. Anything like frilly and fancy and gold plated, it's not for me, like to put it mildly.
Okay, so you will not polish a fork, but my guess is in the course of your equestrian life, you have happily cleaned bits.
I had a feeling that's where you were going. Yes, I have polished stirrups, bits, bridle hardware with a toothbrush like nobody's business. Because I care about that stuff. I just like hosting a party is my worst nightmare. Like there could not be any bigger like stress causing thing. That I have a birthday party coming up for my son, about to turn 6, and he wants it to be at a park, and that is stressful for me because at Chuck E. Cheese you just show up, you just book your time and you show up. You don't need anything. Like at the park you gotta plan all the food and the decorations, and it stresses me out. Like ever since I was in my early 20s and I was a maid of honor for my friend and had to plan this whole bridal shower was like the worst thing I ever did. So yeah, it's not my wheelhouse. What can you say?
Wow, this is very interesting. Well, this is kind of a sharp contrast to our guest for today.
Yes, which is good. We're all about like different things, like different strokes. So that's why we had to have her. I need her advice for everything. But go ahead. So, let us know all about her bio.
Returning to Barn Banter, my former co-host, Raquel Lynn. And you may recall, if you were here in the early days listening, that Raquel has a beautiful paint mare. She lives really close to Burbank, California. She's actually in Glendale, California. She's in a horsey neighborhood there, and she is just a amazing human and very creative and talented, and she loves to entertain. And but before we do that, I probably should give a little recap of Equine Affair, since that was our last episode.
Yes, I didn't get to go, and you went to my home state of Massachusetts to attend. So it looked cool from the pictures, but I want to hear all about it. And you were at a booth and saw some of our friends.
Yeah. I was even nominated one of a handful of people for best booth. I didn't win, but it was an honor. So I had my little sidekick, Misty statue, a colt. It's actually a colt lawn ornament, so don't look underneath. But painted like Misty of Chincoteague. And she's really a showstopper. So she's, I feel like I'm kind of with a celebrity there because people would come over to the booth. And I was giving away stickers for people who wanted to take a photo with Misty. And I had my little novella, Misty's First Christmas, there. So I made a cute little sticker out of the book cover. And it's a little illustration with the pony, a kind of anime style. And she's wearing a Santa hat. And so, yeah, it was just fun to connect. A number of people came by who actually own Chincoteague ponies. And so that was really cool. And one of them was telling me how it was the best horse she'd had. And, she showed me a picture driving and jumping. And then she said on a whim, she decided to do a 30-mile endurance ride. And so it was amazing. I met a woman who told me, I bought a foal this year at the auction. And I said, I was there during Pony Penny Week. She said, well, I wasn't. And she was at work bidding online, and she works at a deli. And she said that she told her coworkers, like, okay, hang on, I'm bidding on this pony. And she won, and it was a solid bay filly. And they said she was great. She just got in the trailer like she'd been doing it her whole life. And she's just been an incredible
see, that's my dream, but my only fear would be like, you buy a horse sight unseen, it's like crazy or something's wrong with it. But man, I have like a dream of bidding on a Chincoteague pony and getting one someday. So,
well, maybe we could get some friends and go in on one together.
A partnership. I like it.
We'll talk about that after the show.
I like it.
Yeah, so Equine Affair was wonderful.
And we want a picture of that booth for the show notes. So send me one, and we'll show everybody what it looked like.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if other people feel this way, but, in everyday life, when you're not at the barn, you feel kind of like an outlier. Like, am I the only one that thinks about horses all the time? And so to be at an event like Equine Affair, it's just heartwarming. And there's so many ways to really feel almost an instant connection with the different people you get to talk to. So I was excited. I had 2 presentations. One was about the writing and riding life of Marguerite Henry. Had a good crowd there, and they got to see some vintage photos of the real Misty pony. And then I did a session about how to travel to Chincoteague if you've always wanted to see the wild swim. And so that was really cool. And then, of course, got to see some of my author friends there, like Heather Wallace, who was on our show with Sydney Collier a while back, and then Natalie Keller-Reinert, and she was on our show talking about foals. So I didn't really get to shop much as I was there, to work the booth and to present. But very, very feel-goody. I did go to the Fantasia, which we talked about with our last guest, Kogi, and it did not disappoint.
Well, it looks, like I said, I've only seen pictures, but it looked super cool, and I'm sure my wallet thanks me for not exposing myself to the shopping, because you just can't help it. Like, I go to the Kentucky 3-Day every year, and oh my gosh, it's like I don't even own a horse right now, and you just come home with like armloads because you can't resist these great shopping opportunities.
Okay, so I kind of I didn't shop as in go all around and look at the different booths, but I did do a little shopping because I thought I miscounted the number of socks to bring with me for the road, so I bought a few socks from
I'll allow
Impressions
it,
of Saratoga, which is a really cool boutique in Saratoga Springs. And then got
Saratoga.
a little something.
Now I want to see that booth. That sounds like a fun place.
Oh, yeah.
They had good
They're really
socks.
fun people, too. And then I got a little something for my aunt from the Back on Track store. And there was a woman there who had antique horse art, and I got this hunt print by, I can't remember the artist, but it was created in like 1909, and it's not your stereotypical fox hunting scene. Like the style of art looks very ink pen and kind of watercolor-y, and it's like lighter colors, and I want to say it looks Art Deco-y, which that sounds totally crazy, but like the style, if you can think of like ads from magazines, if you're old enough to have seen this kind of thing, like just the style of the art has this very cool vibe to it. And maybe I'll take a picture.
I was known to once subscribe to a horse magazine because they were giving away like 6 free large engraving looking horse pictures, black and white, with that like engraved look, with just like the lines. They were just so beautiful. They were from like, 1800 type pictures of like the stallion Lexington and Boston and these like famous thoroughbreds. So I just thought those pictures were so incredible. I had to subscribe, which, was fine. But I hung up like all 6 of them around, my bedroom and living room, and they were so pretty.
That's cool. And what was so funny is it reminded me a little of a Where's Waldo or something, or those Richard Scarry books, with the people in the busy town doing stuff. Yeah. Because I got it because I just love the overall vibe of it. Yeah. And then I started looking at it, and there's a woman riding side saddle, and then I saw a kid bareback on a donkey, but it's kind of shielded by the master of foxhound. Like it's just a neat piece. So I have to figure out where to hang it.
Oh, well, that's good. Sounds like it was a great trip, and we've got the next equine affair coming up in April in Ohio for anyone who missed it. So.
Yeah, it was a great trip. But like I said, Misty of Chincoteague, she's such a celebrity. And I feel in a way like our next guest is a little bit of a celebrity too. So as I mentioned, Raquel Lynn is joining us, and she's going to share a story about when we both had a celebrity sighting near Burbank, California at a horse show. So I think listeners are going to love it.
I think so, too. That was a fun one. If you like Pink, you'll like that story. All right. Coming up, our first guest is Raquel Lynn. We hope you enjoy.
For special rates on Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazine subscriptions just for our podcast listeners, visit horseillustrated.com/barn banter.
Welcome to the December Barn Banter by Horse Illustrated podcast. This is an episode with feel-good, vintage horsey vibes, celebrity sightings, and a familiar friend. Our guest today is Raquel Lynn. Raquel she was my co-host when this was a brand new podcast, and she has taken a leave for a while, taking care of her family, growing family, pony, etc. And so, Raquel, we're just really happy to have you here on our show today. And I have a question for you. This may be an unorthodox question for the barrel racing, blogging, candle creating woman. But I am wondering if you remember a horse show that you and I were at several years ago. It wasn't at the LA Equestrian Center. I can't remember the name of the stables, but it was in Burbank.
It was at the Paddock Riding Club.
Yeah, and we had a celebrity sighting.
Yes.
Raquel, I just would have thought, wow, there's a horse really decked out in pink. I was not familiar with who this individual was, but another friend of ours who was there was kind of obsessively trying to sneak photos of this woman. Raquel, maybe fill us in on who that was, and so listeners can feel like they experienced it.
So that was Lisa Vanderpump. If you are not familiar with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, they are one of my favorite groups of ladies. Have to be loyal to the Beverly Hills housewives. She boards one of her horses there, and it's funny because I watch the show, and sometimes when she goes riding, they'll film her with like bringing someone to the barn, and I'm like, oh, that's the paddock. I know where she's riding. So it's really cool. But she is a lover of pink. So, anything that she has, including her horse, is wearing pink.
And I'm trying to remember, was her bridle pink? I feel like, I mean, it was like just a pink vest there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she has custom pink tack and everything, pink. And I think the horse was a gray. I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I don't know what kind. I'm guessing maybe some kind of Spanish horse, Lusitano or Andalusian or something. But Holly, you should have been there.
Well, I was just going to say, is she the one that has a Pomeranian? Like, I don't watch Real Housewives or Vanderpump Rules, but I feel like I've seen a picture of her with a Pomeranian. And me and Raquel are both Pomeranian people. We just adopted two when our old dog passed away. And so I now have two crazy puppies. They're like supposedly around 2 years old, but they are destroying everything and going crazy all the time. So I'm in the thick of it with puppies, but yeah, Pomeranian,
she's
shout out.
fellow Pom and horse lover. So that's why, got to be Team Lisa for that.
That's good.
That's really amazing. So have there been any other celebrity sightings? So Raquel lives, very close to where the studios are. She and I used to trail ride, and we went past the Disney lot. I have a photo of us somewhere with that in the background.
I think another housewife, Sutton, I believe she also got a horse and had it at the paddock as well for a short time. I don't know if she still has the horse or not, because there was a lot of people questioning her riding ability. So I don't know if she was once a rider, but I think that horse was at the paddock as well. Also at the Equestrian Center, when you go for horse shows, I'm kind of oblivious to celebrities, so I'm a bad person to ask. But you get Kaylee Cuoco will ride, and she'll have like Big Bay City there. And yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's definitely more people, but it's like you walk by them and you don't even realize that they're just there riding their horse. And that's what's really cool. I think so many celebrity horse people.
That is amazing. And speaking of celebrities, I thought we could transition to London, your daughter.
Okay.
So I noticed on your Instagram that you were doing some, I don't know if it was a holiday preparation, but it looked like you were in the kitchen doing some meal prep, and there was a cute little caption about how she was helping you. And so I am so curious. Tell us about London, how old she is now, and what was she doing in the kitchen? I'm sure she wasn't handling the knives, but I was trying to figure out, like, how does a little kid help in the kitchen?
It's interesting. So she just turned 2, and I've really been having her help with me ever since she could stand on the, the stool. Like, she has a little toddler stool, but it's just, I work from home most days, and I'm always around. So, you can entertain kids, and we don't do screen time. So basically, I love to cook, and she also enjoys cooking. And so we were just it's been raining like crazy. And so I was going a little stir crazy in the house, and I was just like, we need something else to do. I'm sick of coloring. I'm sick of doing all these games. So we made cookies together. And you kind of just get them involved in stuff. I was putting raisins in cookies, so then she just kind of got distracted and was just eating the raisins. Like, that's fine. You have her stir, and you just say, it's your turn, it's my turn. We take turns stirring. It's messier, it's slower, when they're helping you. But like, she's very enthusiastic about doing everything. And she's at an age where she's like, what's this? What's that? It's just like asking what everything is. So I'm explaining all the ingredients, just explaining what I'm doing. We made some fridge pickles. We prepped like vegetables for a soup. And then she wants to eat everything too, which is really cute. So it's like, you cut her off some peppers, or you cut her off carrots, and she's just happy. Like, she thinks it's really fun. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I do not think I ate peppers until I was probably a late teenager. So good job there.
Yeah, she's healthy for
and
now.
We can tell the difference between kids. Like, Mine, every time I've tried to get him to help cook, he's not interested. When I try to get him to eat a vegetable, not happening. Like, nope. So I'm glad that yours is, though. That's good. We just got to work on the horse stuff. That's the one interest. I need to push the horse interest a little more. So.
That's a great transition to the horse interest. So tell us about Fira, your paint mare, riding updates, London riding. I've seen her on horseback a little bit here and there on your social media accounts. And if you're not following Raquel, you should be at Horses and Heels and Stable Style. She's got 2 fabulous accounts, and we'll probably talk about that more at the end of the show. But so take it away with your riding.
Yeah. So Holly and I were just talking about this earlier. Being a mom who has a toddler and a horse, I feel like when I got pregnant, I kind of said, and I've told my husband before, I was like, if I have a kid, like, I want to keep riding. And I want to figure out how to do that. And I know it'll be different, but, I do shorter rides with Fira now just because of time and stuff like that. So I'm not necessarily going, on these long beach rides or adventures. And I do kind of miss those sometimes. But right now it's like I'll do my shorter rides, and I love sharing Fira with London. She's definitely interested in riding, and she'll go in the backyard and like, she'll say helmet because she has like her helmet now, and she knows that like, oh, if you put the helmet on, you can go riding. And so even yesterday it was raining and we got a break from the rain, and I said, do you want to go walk Fira? And she said, yes. And then she goes, helmet. And I go, well, she might be a little bit spicy because she's been cooped up, but my husband comes with, and I said, okay, we're going to put the bareback pad on her, and we're just going to like go down, a little ways. And if I say grab her, you grab her. Basically the thing that I love about Fira is she's such a good mare in that, she tells you how she's feeling with her emotions. You can see it in her eyes, her ears. It's like, I know how she's going to react always. I know if she's in a good mood. I know if she's in a spooky mood, and I would say 90% of the time, she's absolutely perfect with London. I don't know if she just knows that like, hey, when this little kid is around me, we do not spook. We do not, do anything. It's like, she's just such a little sweetie with London. And then, with me, she's like, you can handle a spook. If I decide to spook at this tree or, something sets her off. So it's been really fun though.
So has London been on a trail ride yet?
The farthest she's done is we have what's called the perimeter, which goes around the LA Equestrian Center, and it's about like a mile-long path. And we did make that trek once with my husband, carrying milk and snacks. And about we were 3/4 of the way through because I like told my husband, I was like, maybe we should turn around. He's like, oh no, she's doing good. And then she wanted down, and then she wanted to lead Fira. So that was, and then, I had to end up carrying her back, but, not quite ready for the long trail rides, but we're getting there. We ride together, and then she rides, on her own a little bit with us, obviously just holding and alongside her, but she's doing really good.
Well, I have to ask, because I know that London was your first human child, but you also have some chickens and a little pom we were talking about. Can you give us updates on your brood?
Yeah, the chickens are doing really well. And actually, I'm getting 2 more chickens, 2 more babies, and they're going to be really cute. And I guess that's what you do when you have a little bit of baby fever and you're like, yeah, humans are a lot of work. So adding 2 more little chickens to the flock. So I'll have 8 chickens, and Mango will be 14 this year. So she's just our little senior pom right now. But
and
everyone's
Mango
doing well.
likes to go. She has a little stroller or walks too.
Yeah. So she likes to go out. I mean, she has a luxating patella, and so she's got, a little bit of a limp. But yeah, she's doing really well.
That's amazing. Well, the holidays are approaching, and I feel like you are one of the go-to people kind of in this horse lovers realm to know like cool new products or just really creative ideas. I think of you as like the Martha Stewart of the horse world, even though Martha Stewart has horses. She has Friesians.
Yeah.
You're younger, probably much, much nicer. But let's start first with holiday entertaining. And I know a couple years ago, Holly and I were saying like a lot of equestrian women maybe spend more time at the barn than in the kitchen. And so if you had any ideas for ways to entertain that are just really simple and, won't require a week of prep.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I love spending time in the kitchen, so I will make everything from scratch. But I think if you're not into making things from scratch, I think you should learn one or two things to do really well. And that be, your thing, so to speak. A really cute idea for hosting. I don't know if you've seen this on Pinterest and TikTok. It's not new. It's not my idea, but you can take a little bit of water, put it in a glass, and basically add a sprig of rosemary, and you freeze it, and you can add something else. And it looks like basically a little pine tree, and you can put, Chardonnay or whatever. Another thing, if you wanted to make it horsey, is you could, make sure they're nice and clean, but you could put a little like toy horse in there and like freeze it, and have something like that. But I think it's like the little touches when it comes to hosting. So just do like a small detail, get fun napkins, get, the tableware. Like, I feel like we've mentioned this before, but I'm sure there's new people listening, but Arthur Court has really fun horse pieces. And there are certain ones that I have a really big salad bowl from them. And it's like, that's beautiful for entertaining, or, equestrian cheese boards, because that's something that's so easy. Anyone can put a cheese board together, nice charcuterie plate. And a lot of people sell them. I know Huntseat Paper Co. She sells beautiful cheese boards. Arthur Court does. You can do a quick Google search. You can also make your own or have your husband make one for you too. So I think just add little horsey touches to, your table. Even take horseshoes. I have some old ones that I cover with glitter, and they're kind of fun to put, around the house, or, you could put that on your tablescape. You could put briars, put bows around briars and put them on your table. There's so many different fun ways that you can host and do things that are kind of like minimal effort, but they look really cool when you put them together.
That is a great idea. And Holly and I have a long history of briars as centerpieces.
Yes.
At the conference we go to, American Horse Publications, every year, it's an item that one person at the table wins. And Holly has won, and I sort of won.
Well, I sort of won
that's
too,
a story
because I told everyone my son really wanted a toy while I was traveling, and the only toy I had time to see the entire time was that briar centerpiece. So everyone was kind enough to let me take it home, and he still plays with it. He just played with it like yesterday. So it's very cute. I need to look it up. I actually wasn't sure what it was. It's an Appaloosa sport horse, so perfect, because I've owned one and they're my favorite breed.
So Raquel, what about beyond just the entertaining touches and that sort of thing? Like any advice for gifting?
I think there's so many different types of fun gifts. In this like economy, it's like you can make really fun things. Like I actually just saved a recipe to, I grow herbs, and I was like going to make some seasoned like rosemary citrus salt and put those with like gifts. That would be great for like hostesses. I have certain friends where it's just like, I love a consumable gift, whether it's soap, a treat that you wouldn't normally buy for yourself, candles. Obviously, I sell candles. They are consumable. You need more than one always. And for your practical friends, like people who are maybe kind of tough to buy for, I feel like grooming supplies are kind of always my go-to for like that horse girl who she's like, well, I can't have this on my skin, or I can't have this in my house. And, you're like, okay, she has like a certain color palette that she wears. You're just like, okay, I'm going to get you some grooming supplies or some nice new brushes for your horse, custom painted ones or ones that have their name on, a personalized gift. That does take a little bit of planning ahead of time. And ornaments too. I feel like when you give someone, an ornament of their horse or with their horse's name on it, like that's really sweet. And I think that people sometimes maybe forget that ornaments are great gifts. Those are little and thoughtful. And I love a personalized ornament.
Yeah, and if you got really crafty, you could make one if you got the little stablemate size briar and paint it to look like someone's horse.
Yeah, paint them or coat them in glitter, which is another DIY that actually has been on my blog a long time ago. I took plastic horses and I coated them in glitter, and I still put them on my tree.
We need a link for our show notes of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm liking this. I have all horse ornaments on my tree. That's all that's allowed is like saddles, horses, briars, glass, whatever, as long as it's a horse. So it's good.
Okay, that's hilarious. So I've been seeing something, it's not related to horses, but we could sort of make it into a horsey twist if you have a little bit of artistic leaning, is all the brown paper bag, like gingerbread villages that people are cutting out. And then the other one I saw that I sent to my sister, and I was like, we need to do this, was like the toilet paper roll, and you cut it and you fold it and it makes a little house Christmas tree ornament. So we could, do that and make a little stable.
Yeah, a gingerbread barn. Love that.
Does that exist? I don't know if I've ever seen a gingerbread barn.
I think it does. There's also a gingerbread chicken coop, which is adorable.
Amazing.
Oh, I like this. I go to a gingerbread party every year where they provide the gingerbread and the frosting and you bring your stuff and everyone just makes stuff. It's so fun. Mine's always horse related, so perfect.
Yeah, love that.
We also need that in the show notes, Holly.
Well, you don't want to see the monstrosities I've been making over the years. That's scary.
I don't know. I've seen some of your painting and stuff. I think you're a little more artsy than you'd like to let on. But
well,
that's okay.
Last year I'm going to confess I bought a kit. They had them at Target. They had like the Surf Shack gingerbread house and they had a barn and it was really cute. So I just did that one.
I have a totally tangential story, but when I taught 6th grade history and my students were studying the Great Wall of China, I had the idea that they could construct them much like a gingerbread house. And there were different sections of the wall created during the different dynasties. And let's just say there was a lot of enthusiasm for this project, a lot of different sugary materials it went into the building of the different groups. And at the end of the day, I do recall seeing one student whose face looked green. So anyway, probably not. I mean, it was like the Rice Krispie treats plus gumdrops plus Oreos plus Twinkies and all of that, pretzels. And so don't do that with your gingerbread house and or stable. All right. So you mentioned a moment ago about your candles, and we need updates on your stable style candles because I know you always have some fun new design or aromas in the works. So what do you have going on right now, Raquel?
Yeah, so I just released my icons collection, and I've been working on those for what feels like forever, and it's actually been over a year. There have been so many different versions. I think that sometimes when you get an idea in your head of what you want something to look like, and it comes out, it ends up looking totally different. But basically I did 4 new scents, with different packaging. They're in really pretty like pastel tubes, and, they're called the icons because they have a horse head icon, it's actually Fira's head. If you look at it, closely, or if you know her profile, So it's Fiora, there's a horseshoe, there is a little cowboy boot, and there's a cactus too, because I love cacti. So they're very simplistic jars and a little bit different than my other like style of my original candles. So those are new basically since September. And they've been doing really well, and that's been really fun. And I absolutely love the scents because I worked with a new factory here in LA. The guy lives like 20 minutes from me, and he works with some fantastic brands. Like I'm definitely a little fish when I go into his shop because it's like he pours for brands that are in like Bloomingdale's and, you know, all types of very big names. And then there's like little me and I'm like, hi. It's a very fun though. His scents and his library of scents and like his just knowledge of scent is amazing. So probably the best part was just like talking to him. And then I'd be like, oh, well, I like these notes, like which combination, you know, I could have spent like all day basically with him. I was like, after an hour, I'm like, okay, we gotta like leave you alone. But yeah, making candles and just like bringing a product to life has been so much fun. So I love the new Icons collection.
I love that it's local. It's so local for you. And another question I have is when you're in there kind of, I guess, testing out the different fragrances and the profiles and the blends of those together, how does it not all blend into the next? Because when if I'm shopping for perfume or something, it's like, okay, I can't take it anymore after like smelling the third variation. So how does that work?
You know, I don't play sports, but it's kind of like basketball, like brackets basically, where you're going in and you're like, oh, these are the scents and these are the notes that I want to play with. So it's like, I want a citrus and a sweet note, or I want I want something with lavender in it. So you almost start with like one or two notes that you're looking for, and then you start smelling all like the different fragrance options. And then it's like, for me, I'd put them on the table and be like, okay, these three. And then you'd like keep going and look into different scents. And then basically you'd go back to the table and you'd be like, well, which one do I like better? This one or this one? And then you'd be like, okay, that one's out. So you kind of just keep like going back and smelling them again. And just like each time it's like, there's maybe a clear winner in between. Cause there were definitely, I landed on 4 scents, but there were 2 that for a while I was like, oh, we're going to do this one. And then I ended up like at the last minute dropping it out. So it's very tough to decide.
I love that little sneak peek behind the scenes because I think, as a consumer or even like with Horse Illustrated magazine, you really have no idea the work, the processes, the teams, all of the things that go behind something that seem relatively straightforward and like, oh, it's a candle. Yeah, it was poured, or a magazine that comes in my mailbox or I'm reading online, there's story, like there's so much that goes into it. So I've always been kind of fascinated by how things work that way. And as a basketball fan, it really spoke to me.
Okay. I just see it online. I don't participate.
Oh my gosh,
that's a good analogy.
So we've talked a little bit about the holidays and that, and I believe, didn't you once spend like Christmas at the beach, or you go into the desert? You do a little
Usually, we do, because we stay local. We don't go home. All of our family, is elsewhere. So it's just going to be me and Adam in London. And we love that. Before London, Adam and I would always go to Joshua Tree, and pack up mango and just have like a fun little, Christmas in the desert, which I think we're going to end up staying home this year. But then London's grandparents are flying in January to hang out with her while Adam and I go to Mexico, for just some parents' vacation.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
So your horse, and I think people may have inferred this from listening, or if they follow you, your horse is in your backyard. So I know for a lot of people that have farms, whether large or small, it's really hard to get away during the holidays. And do you have any advice for people who, maybe want to jaunt off even just for a day or a day to find someone? Like, how does that work?
In my neighborhood, well, it used to be a little bit easier. This guy, Miguel, was our kind of like our neighborhood go-to. And then actually he unfortunately had a stroke and like he's no longer available. So there's always, because we live in a city and there are more people, there are more options. So you ask friends, like, who do you use? Who takes care of your horses regularly? So I have found a guy who's done a great job. I also hired someone last year who ended up breaking my chicken coop door and the manure fork, which we all know how annoying that is when the middle of your manure fork is broken.
Or the tine in the middle.
Yes. The worst. And it's just like, you come back and I'm just like, but how did he do that? It was also a new fork. So getting good help is, you kind of have to just check your sources. But also the other thing that gives me so much peace of mind is cameras. I have so many cameras in the backyard and I only have them set to motion when I'm out of town. But it's like, there's an actual camera on the chicken coop door, which is an automatic coop door, so that I can see that it closes every night and then it opens every morning. Otherwise I'm calling one of my neighbors and I'm like, hey, like the chickens are stuck or the gate malfunctioned, because that does happen. So, I have that. My neighbor next door, he has horses. I always tell him when I go out of town and I just say, hey, like leaving town, Miguel is coming to feed. But, keep an eye out, because he'll know if she's not acting right. If anything is like colicky or something like that, like he's going to notice. And, my feeder and cleaner comes twice a day. And I think there are things that you can automate too, because maybe if you live further out, like, can you have them, set up a feeder where you only need someone to come once to muck and feed grain? I think you can kind of just, I guess, adjust as necessary. But yeah, I think without cameras, like, because I know like when Miguel comes, so I have that peace of mind. And sometimes I don't even check because I'm busy with like London or family stuff. But it's like, as soon as I hear that ding and I like see, oh, it's him in the backyard, instant peace of mind, because you're just like, great, she's being fed, like she's being looked after. Because I don't have like a pasture situation. I have someone who, if it's a longer trip, I have someone who comes and gets her out. And then, if it's summer, depending on time of year, it's like she fly sprays, she hoses, like she does extra stuff for me. So it really does take a village to leave your house, when you have a horse. But, I think it's just a lot of plan ahead and find the right people.
Yeah, I'm just grateful. I've always been a boarder. I don't know how you do it with like, I just hear people that are like, I just can never leave town for the rest of my life because like they can't find reliable help. So my heart goes out to people that are like stuck, tied to their farm. It's like sometimes you do want to travel and get away, but it sounds like a pretty good system you have. And I actually ride in a horse community right now. That's exactly like where you live, where people have the property and the back of the property is the horses. But I'm just riding somebody else's horse. So I can go wherever I want, which is kind of nice. But we just want to think of our horses around this time and maybe give them some special treats. Not too much sugar, but
I did. I forgot
it's good
to think of. So do you have any gift ideas for horses?
I mean, they definitely appreciate treats. Vera, I try and do lower sugar. So, she's getting like alfalfa pellets or just things that are definitely lower in the sugar. Candy cane, though, of course, like you have to give them like a Christmas candy cane. I feel like that is just
and I
cute and
encourage
adorable.
People to do those Christmas photo shoots with their horse, because just throw on a red outfit, whatever your holiday you're celebrating, you want to just coordinate something with your horse, put a little wreath around their neck or something. And it's just like those pictures are just such a good memory to always bring out. I think, make your phone screensaver, hang one on the wall. So I think that's a lot of fun too.
I did that a few years ago, and I didn't really have the full wreath, but there are some gorgeous pine trees on the property where I keep night. And so I threw on his baker sheet because it's plaid and it just feels kind of festive-y. And I had some garland. And what you couldn't see was me kind of shouting commands to my mom and my sister because Knight does not like to put his ears forward. So I have this, it turned out quite nice. I'm not, I am a very, very amateur photographer, but I did use it for my card. But behind the scenes, I was like, no, don't hold him, like, get out of the picture.
Oh, so, I have good tips for that too, because in Young Rider, we get sent like hundreds of pictures a month for kids that want to be in the magazine, and airplane ears, guys, it's a problem. Like, people don't even think about these donkey airplane ears sticking out to the side. It just ruins the most beautiful pictures. So, one thing we have found at the magazine that seems to work like a charm with any horse. Luckily, my last horse was a poser. You would take out your camera phone and I swear he just snapped to attention. It was great, but most horses aren't like that. Just go to YouTube on your phone and play horses whinnying, and almost any horse will be like full attention, and you can kind of crumple a plastic bag off camera to get their neck to arch. Really pretty if you are into that kind of thing. So just a couple of tips, but yeah, don't let airplane ears ruin your holiday pictures. Don't do it. Yeah. That's my advice.
That's funny. I have two other tips along the line. We just did a little photo shoot a few weeks ago, and the photographer had a dog squeaky toy. And so she was like kind of squatting down and had the toy on her thigh. And then as she's holding the camera, she was like hitting it with her elbow or doing something, and it was making this very funny sound. And then the other thing I learned from Shelley Paulson, who was our first guest for Barn Banter, talking about riding skirts, if Raquel remembers that, a long time ago. I got to help her as like an assistant on one of her shoots. She does a lot of our covers, and she's a phenomenal photographer. And she had me hold a broom upside down. And so I was standing behind her, and then like I had it turned upside down, but it wasn't in the air. And then when she said, okay, I raised the upside down broom in the air, and that it didn't spook the horse, but they just looked at it like, what?
Oh yeah.
I've seen somebody with like a kid's magic wand that had like bells and streamers on it being like, ah! So it just depends how spooky your horse is and how much it needs to get its attention, I think. I like the broom. I never heard of that.
Hilarious. Well, Raquel, thank you so much for joining us. It's so great to connect with you again. Yeah. I miss you. I'm sure our listeners miss you too. But if you could just share with our listeners where they can find you, take a look at your candles, and you've got some beautiful coffee table books, and just kind of follow along with you.
Yeah, so you can find me horsesandheels.com, stablestyle.net, or stablestyle.shop, and then Instagram, it's at stablestyle or at horses and heels with an underscore. But I'm pretty sure once you start typing in horses and heels, like I'll pop up either first, and you'll know if you're on the wrong horses and heels. So there will be no paint horse and there will be no chickens.
You're the original. The first and the best.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. And we hope everyone has an awesome holiday season with their horses.
And joining us today to talk about our adoptable horse of the month, we have Maya Prue. She is executive director of Hope's Legacy Equine Rescue Incorporated. Maya, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So today we're talking about Uncle Timmy, who is a 3-year-old thoroughbred gelding. So definitely on the younger side of the horses that we profile, which is kind of exciting, kind of different. Could you tell us all about him, his personality, any limitations, his background, just whatever you can think of?
We don't really know any background information about him because he was seized by law enforcement in, I believe it was August of this year. He came to us very underweight, and it was amazing. We just gave him food, and all of a sudden he was healthy again. He was a stallion when he arrived, so he's been relatively recently castrated, but he is just a really sweet, easygoing horse. I try not to have favorites, but I would say, is definitely one of my favorites. Most people who meet him would never guess that he was a stallion recently. He's just got great ground manners. He does like his food. He can get a little cranky around feeding time, but we often find that's the case with horses who've been starved in the past. And as far as we know, he has no physical limitations. Is very sound, running around in the field and having a good time. He gets along well with other horses. We have not had him in living with other mares, but he's been in with geldings and other recently gelded horses, and they've gotten along with no issue. So he's ready to be somebody's fun project and go whatever direction they hope to go with him.
Oh, well, that's great. And does he have a tattoo? Do you know anything about his jockey club? Like, is he registered or raced?
Yep. So Uncle Timmy is actually his jockey club registration name. So he did race. I should have pulled up his stats. I want to say he won something like $7,000. He was not impressive on the racetrack, but seems to have retired sound. From what we can tell, we haven't found anything to indicate otherwise.
Well, that's great. Yeah, it sounds like, and I think it's kind of a good sign when a horse has a few races and they're just slow, because usually that means they were sound and, they just didn't have a super long career because they just weren't going to be super fast, which I think is actually a good sign for a future athletic career. So it sounds like he's sound and ready to go in any direction, which is really nice with these young thoroughbreds. They haven't developed bad habits yet, you could say, hopefully. So his personality sounds really nice, and hopefully somebody that's ready to start a new career for him will find just the perfect direction for him. So
that's what we're hoping.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And give him lots of food. I know us thoroughbred people, we do like to feed our horses. Yes. They need their food.
The good news is, now that he is at a good weight, he actually maintains his weight very easily. So
that's good.
That is a nice thing.
I had an off-the-track thoroughbred that I got when he was around 4, and he was so skinny, and I was so worried, and I'm looking up all these ways to, have them gain weight, and what am I going to do? I literally put him in a field of grass in Kentucky with some clover, and he looked like a whale within a couple months. Like, I couldn't believe that was the easiest keeping horse I've ever owned. It's like, how was that horse ever thin? I don't ever understand. But it sounds like it could be a nice keeper too, which is always nice. So let's talk a little bit about Hope's Legacy Equine Rescue. I'm not as familiar with your background. Can you tell us all about when it started and how many animals and what type of specialty you guys do?
Absolutely. So I founded Hope's Legacy in 2008. So we're in our 17th year at this point. We've taken in over 850 horses, donkeys, and mules. We are an all-breed rescue, so we don't restrict it by breed. We don't restrict by age. About half of our horses come to us from law enforcement cases, and then the other half are owner surrenders, so people who've lost jobs, have health issues, things like that, and they're no longer able to care for their horses. We are a safe landing. We take in horses regardless of health concerns. So, if we get somebody who calls us about a 30-year-old horse that they're not able to care for, we'll still take that horse in as long as we have space. I will say right now we have 70 horses. We are currently at capacity. We've been up to 152 at one point due to a couple of large law enforcement cases, but we are getting things a little more under control at this point.
Yeah.
So we have our own facility. We have a 172-acre farm here in Central Virginia that we purchased in 2017, and the rescue owns that free and clear with no mortgage. So that is a stable place for the rescue moving forward. And then we also utilize foster homes. We are working towards primarily just using fosters for emergency situations, when law enforcement calls and we need some extra space short term to house horses. And the goal is to get them all rehabbed and adopted out to new homes.
That's amazing. And that's a pretty high capacity compared to a lot of the places we talk to that, just don't have that room. Are you like way out in a rural area? What is your nearest city? Just talk about your location a little bit.
Yeah, so we're about half an hour from Charlottesville, Virginia, which a lot of people are familiar with UVA and Charlottesville. So we're not terribly far from there. We're about a little bit over an hour away from Richmond. We're about 2.5 hours south of DC. So we're in a good location in a very horsey area, which is wonderful. We've got about 130 volunteers that do 2 feed shifts a day at the farm and take care of the horses. And if we were not in a horsey area, that would be a lot more difficult.
Yes. And Virginia, I lived there briefly and it was just beautiful. I absolutely love it there. And it's so green. I mean, a little hot in the summer, but,
Yes.
it is so horsey and, kind of like Kentucky a little bit for anyone that's lived there, just in terms of horse friendliness. But I love that you guys have donkeys and mules and all breeds. So anyone that's in your area, I definitely would encourage to check out. Do you have your own website, or do you just refer people to the Right Horse website to see what you guys have right now?
We do have our own website. It's just hopeslegacy.com. And we've got our adoptable horses listed there as well as on the Right Horse website.
Okay.
We try to make it easy for people to find.
I like that. That sounds good. And we'll have a link to Uncle Timmy in our show notes so everyone can take a look at him. And hopefully if they're not looking for a young thoroughbred, they can still check out everything that you guys have if they're local to the area. And, we always like to feature different places across the country so everyone can find a facility that's close to them. And I know there's a lot of people close to DC area, so that's not too long a drive. But
yeah.
So Maya, thank you so much for your time today, for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Don't be shy. Show us some barn banter love by leaving a review, and you can tell all your friends too.